Hello, everybody. It's the Worm, back again for some more of the Raging Loop. Last time, we officially began the Darkness route. Well, no, that's true. That's not true. Excuse me. The time before that, we officially started the Darkness route, but last time we started the Feast. That's what we did. And so we have confirmation that yes, indeed, Haruaki is going to be on the wolf team, which was something I feared, but it has come to pass. So we'll just have to see where this leads us. Now, before we continue on with what we were doing, I thought I'd take a moment to address something. Last time I mentioned how I was starting to sort of get into the idea of thinking about strategy for the wolf team, much as I kind of didn't want to, but unfortunately it's just happened naturally. And I think it was Amber who said that, well, maybe I should, take this seriously, actually come up with a game plan about what we would do if we were in this position ourselves. Lise came along afterward and suggested that maybe we should wait until the first feast in order to get a more complete idea of the state of things before we get into actually planning. And I think that's fair. So I think I'm going to kind of split the difference here and give some initial thoughts. And then when we get to the end of the first feast, we will have a bigger planning session where we will try to really nail down what we would do in this position. And it's not an easy position to be in, for sure. So just some initial thoughts here. One thing we have to acknowledge is that Haruaki is not in an enviable position here. Because this isn't just, this has been firmly established at this point, that this is not just your average game of Mafia Werewolf. We're dealing with people who have known each other, who are in different positions in the village, and will have their prejudices and all that sort of stuff. And so Haruaki, he's starting out as the unknown outsider who is, and I mean, he said this last episode, the episode before this one, he's going to have to somehow argue his way to survival and not being voted off the first night. I definitely think Haruaki can do it, but would I be able to do it? Probably not. But leaving that aside, let's just talk. There's some general ideas about being a wolf here. Obviously, if we're talking about targets, just off the top of my head, the first couple to be, well, I guess there are three in my mind, that we would need to be prime targets. Just obviously, guardians are targets first, not the monkeys, but the other guardians. But before we know them, just the three targets that I would be wanting to kill first as a wolf, we have Yasunaga, we have Kinzo, and then I'd say Takumi. And I think those are fairly obvious to everyone, right? They are the leaders of the village. Well, in particular, Kanzo and Yasunaga tend to, not leaders of the village, excuse me, they tend to be leaders during the feast. And so getting rid of one or both would be pretty important to destabilizing the human team. Takumi, I think, would be a good choice as well because, well, before I mention Takumi, let's just say this. We know that from last game that the spider, under the direction of Rikako, essentially, protected Kanzo And that obviously turned out to be a good move because the wolves were thinking just as I am thinking. And they actually went for him the first night, and the spider was able to protect him. So, with Kanzo and Yasunaga being important targets just for the first night, I think there's a good chance that if the spider is someone who knows what they're doing, that they could be protected on the first night. So this leads to the third person I mentioned, Takumi, which we know Takumi is a good arbitrator. He's good at fostering cooperation between the villagers. So he would be the third one I would look at to potentially killing. In fact, I'd say I might go for Takumi first, because I don't want to risk the spider protecting either Kanzo or Yasunaga. That's kind of just my general initial idea. Now, of course, all this is going to depend on who the monkeys are, and then so that who the monkeys are is definitely going to change what we think. But even supposing we're able to kill Takumi, I don't really know what the plan would be after that. I mean, all I have really to go on is last route, Wit. The first route was kind of a crapshoot because the humans just screwed up everywhere. So many got killed by corruption. It's just, and I basically I don't expect we'll be able to rely on that as the wolves this time around. The only thing in that regard might be Yoshitsugu if he does the same thing again. We'll just have to see. Yeah. So I mean, we'll just have to see about Yoshitsugu. If he is as consistent as he seems to be, he might try the same thing again, unless he has a guardian, in which case maybe the others will be able to really convince him not to do anything rash. So we'll just have to see that. But yeah, those are my initial thoughts. But I don't, as I said, I don't really have a plan after the first night, really. That's just my opening move. Let's get to the actual feast, and when we finish it, I don't know if I'll make a plan right then and there, or maybe I'll leave it to the beginning of next episode to see if I've been able to formulate one. So let's continue on. After we ate, I pretended to be busy in the kitchen. Chemi and Rokako-san looked like they wanted to talk, but I avoided them because I felt like I might accidentally spill the beans to them. Of course, we had to wait until Takumi-san and the Oribe brothers cleaned up the plaza, and I have tons of things to wash. Last time, the feast began at about 9, but now that Kaori-san had gone to bed for the second time, it'd have to happen later. It didn't show any signs of starting, even at noon, so we had lunch. Okay, so there's one more thing to it. This isn't a speculation or anything. Last time it was revealed what would have happened if no one died in the previous 2 routes. It's that apparently whoever's in charge of this whole thing has a ready supply of various animal corpses that they will display prominently in the plaza. So that's quite a thing. Not sure how they do that, but yeah, definitely something.
獅子肉使わなきゃね。私切るよ。
てめえ釜で米炊けんのかよ。仕方ねえな。やってやっから。
I got some unexpected help, so I ended up having to only cut the veggies and add spice. We ended up with lots of decent rice and pork boar soup. I hadn't expected Yoshitsugu-kun to know how to boil rice. He'd probably helped out Kaori-san a lot.
はるちゃん、食べられそう？
食べるわよ。あと、慣れ慣れしく下の名前で呼ばないでほしい。
What else would he call you by?
失礼いたしました、お嬢様。
やめてよ。パンツマンのくせに。
Yeah, so that was we're on the same team right now, but that hasn't been able to override our initial impression. I hadn't accepted that name, but trying to resist it would have probably made her antagonistic toward me, so I just laughed it off.
心配かけてごめんなさい。いい匂いね。誰がしてくれたの？
Okay. Yes,
ちえ
okay.
みと義継くんの手伝いのもと、大体春明さんが。
まあ、義継もありがとうね。
飯炊いただけだっつうの。
食べられそうですか？
ええ、いただくわ。
Everyone noticed that her face was as pale as before, but no one pointed it out. Kanzo-san was beginning to become irate, and it was clear we had to begin the feast soon.
これ食ったらやるか、おやっさん。
Everyone, even Kaori-san, understood what was going to happen. No, two people didn't.
いや、上の道路が塞がってるのは分かりましたけど、下の沢を通れば出られるんじゃないんですか？
下は危ないのだよ。気持ちはわかるがね。あえて試さずに救助を待つ方が良いのではないかね。
さっき芹沢さんは救助は来ないって言ってましたよ。一体何が起きてるんですか？
まあまあ、おばあさん、いずれ説明はあるんですよね。
ええ、この後、宴の時に話しますよ。
今してくださいよ。妙なことに参加する気はないんですが。
ケイちゃん、まあまあ。
Hearing them talk made me nervous, but at least they kept everyone on their toes. Or was that a bad thing for us wolves? The only thing the humans could do against the wolves was lynch, so we had to keep their motivation to do that to a minimum. At the very least, that was relatively easy today, when no one had died so far. Kanzo Makashimashi would definitely insist we hang someone, and I had to somehow shoot him down. Of course, I had to avoid standing out in a way that would affect my chances further down the line.
やるぞ。集会堂へ行け。
We all lined up, and the eldest went in first. They joined their hands and hid their faces. It was quite a unique sight, and once again I copied them. Like last time, I ended up at the lower end of the group, but the complete outsiders were below even me.
いいんですか？
恥じゃないと邪魔くさいでしょ、僕。
I couldn't give any strong agreement, so I just gave him a light, in response. Okay, here we go. Tai-san declared the start of the feast, and Rokako-san handed out some divine sake.
運転は
しばらくはなさそうだよ。
Hashimoto-san drank 3 full cups without anyone urging him to, and Mamiya-san griped that he was drinking too much. He'd also had 3 more helpings of lunch. It was appropriate for someone his size, so I hadn't even commented on it. With him being the first to drink, the rest of us were taken a bit aback. Then Tai-san explained the legend in the feast.
普通に犯罪行為ですよね、それ。
Just like last time, after asking this and that, Mamiya-san eventually took that strong stance on the whole thing.
しかし、 やらんと死ぬのはあたしらなのよ。
だからってそんな。
最後まで聞こう。意見を言う前にまず聞くべき質問がたくさんできそうだ。
わかりました。
Mamiya-san still had a stern expression, but her cool temperament made her seem like a completely different person from last time. After that, Yasunaga-kun pointed out things Tai-san missed, like the amount of people the wolves could kill, the extra info on the spider, and about whether any of us were in the feast before. Then...
その加護というのはどうやって通知されるものでしょうか。
Hashimoto-san, who wasn't here last time, quickly pointed out more info was missing. Kanzo-san then explained that they appeared on the stomach.
なるほど。だから体を吹かせるのが掟の一つなんでしょうかね。汗だくの肌には神様も触りたがらんと。
あんた意外とよくしゃべるな。
ああ、失礼しました。仕事の時はああいう感じの方がやりやすいんで我慢してます。
He smiled, astonishing everyone yet again. At this point, all the rules except for the badger had been revealed.
なんか調子狂っちまったけどよ。どうすんだ？実際のところ犬が何十匹か殺されただけで人は死んでもねえ。こんなもん上藤吉の誰かの嫌がらせじゃねえのかよ。昔はよくあったってばあちゃん言ってたろ。
That was news to me.
そりゃあ、あたしのおばあさんはね、よう上の人らがふざけて頼みずに獅子の血流したとか言ってたけどね。
今はさすがにそのようなことはないと思うのです。
上藤吉の村民の大部分は安水のことを無視しているように見受けられる。そも接点はほぼないのだから。一部の狩猟関係者は牧島勘蔵氏とつながりがあるが、彼らはむしろ畏敬しておりますからな、あなたを。
どうだか。
まあ今新内さんの下で狩りができるの勘蔵じいちゃんだけだもんね。
That was some interesting info.
それはともかくその通りで、今時休みずに悪さしてやろうなんてのは学校の子らか長者くらいのもんでしょう。
またそうやって長者を不当に中傷するのかね。彼らもそんなに暇ではないのだよ。
不当かな。あの山祭りなんて休みずに対するいじめ以外の何者でもないと思うけど、訴えれば勝てるよ多分。
ちなみに近持ちよ。
なんだろ
う。お前じゃないよな、このいたずら。
Wow, I feel like that would be a lot for one person.
おお、あり得る。
It was?
しかし残念。いたずら犯として信用されてるのは嬉しいけど、これは僕じゃない。単純に無理だよね。あんだけ犬をいっぱい集めて殺すのって。
まあそうだよな。
まだ僕が野里だった時、誕生日にいっぱいモルモット買ってもらって池に沈めて遊んだことならある。
Wow. I mean, I guess I can see it, but not any more pleasant to read.
は？何それ？
あ、すいません。こういうやつなんです、モッチーは。
最低。
もうやんないよ。
殺すならネズミとかゴキブリにしてよ。
ネズミを殺すぞ。
I could tell that the weirdos here were making Mamiya-san uncomfortable, But Hashimoto-san was unfazed as always. I had a feeling that the new info I was hearing here came from the fact that no one had died, so tension levels were low.
とにかくどうすんだよ宴は。
よろしいかね。
He made the first move. I recalled hearing that Takumi-san was the one who moved first the very first time. He'd revealed that he was the snake. Last time, one of the monkeys, Kanzo-san, suggested that I die. The flow of events had changed, so maybe he didn't have the Guardian this time. Perhaps it wasn't a good idea to decide who had and didn't have Guardians based on that alone. Just adding Hashimoto-san had changed the course of this discussion completely. And this time, Chemi was the girl that criticized Fujiyoshi with her city-dweller mentality, basically bringing her back around to how she was in the first loop. Last time, besides the strong words on day one, she stayed passive, only hesitantly making moral objections. By becoming a wolf, she'd greatly changed her approach to the feast. Now, there was Kinosuke-shi. I'd expected him to suggest we use a popular vote, but...
私は彼に勇気ある代表者になってもらうのが良いと思うのだがね。
He said that while pointing at me.
それは僕に死ねってことですか？
そんな言い方はしたくないが、君はそういう目的でここに来たと聞いた。最初の一人というのは選びにくいものだよ。しかし、最初の一人がいてこそ、カラスのカゴは名乗り出ることができる。
Interesting that this is coming from Kinosuke and not Kanzo. And yes, even though last time we did know who the crow was, it was Kaori-san, we never got to have the crow use their power. Well, maybe she used it, but we never got to hear her in a feast use it. I didn't expect that idea to come from him. That was basically the same approach as Kanzo-san's. Hadn't he voted for me the first day too? Crap.
失礼ですが、ご自分で何をおっしゃってるか理解されてますか？
そうですよ。理由もなく他人に死んでくれとかよく言えますね。
言い出しっぺの法則ってのがあるってこないだテレビでやってたぞ。
If he was by himself, the suggestion would have no effect. However,
わしも野里の青秒炭に賛成する。
his agreement was bad news for me.
どういうこった、おやっさん。
人ならば休みずのために死ねる。わしもその気でおる。じゃがもうしばらくは宴の進め方を見てやらんといかん。
なんでてめえに見てもらわなきゃなんねんだよ。
わしはこれまでに2度読み意味の宴を生き延びてきた。
2. We definitely knew 1, but I don't feel like I remember 2. He was telling us now?
どうすればいいかわしにはわかる。必ずくくらねばならん。そして人をくくることを恐れれば人は負ける。植松の若えのにもう一杯ついでやれ。
Crap. Things were moving on just like last time. I played it off with some vague words back then, but would it work now?
ちょっと落ち着きましょう。こんな一方的な流れで誰かを殺すことを決めてしまうのは非常に危ない。肝臓さんが言うことは部分的には分かりますが、万一肝臓さんが狼だった場合も同じことが言える。正論は狼にだって使える武器です。正しそうだからって飛びつくわけにはいかない。
安永、そもそも何が正しいというの？くくらなきゃならないのはどうして？
タイバーの話じゃ 僕らは宴の外で人を殺すことを禁じられてる。破れば汚れで死ぬ。今ここに16人いて、13人が人、3人が狼。宴をやればたとえデタラメに1人殺していっても最終的に狼を殺しきれる可能性はある。でもやらなきゃゼロだ。宴をサボり続ければ狼は一晩に1人確実に殺せるから、13日後に必ず僕らは全滅する。ただ僕もわからない。この中に本当に狼がいたとして本当に人を殺す気なのかどうか。
You did. You definitely did.
もしただ単に霧が出て誰かが悪質ないたずらをしてるだけってなら。
狼は本当に来るぞ。
Thank you, old man. Everyone was surprised when he suddenly began to speak. I was pretty used to it by now, though.
陛下。
Whoa.
狼は言うてわかるようなもんじゃね。
This is different.
黄泉は山じゃ。ありゃ山から言われて汚れを振りまいとる。
Yomi's the mountain. Yeah, Yomi is the mountain.
何を言うとるのよ、おじいさん。親内様は人の味方じゃ。
山に味方もクソもあるもんか。山は気まぐれでむごい。腹が減りゃこうやって育てたもんを食らう。
How pleasant.
俺ら宴するしかねえの。
Not much he said came as a surprise to me, but I sure didn't expect to hear it from him. I wasn't the only one. The weird way he presented it made most people here uneasy, and maybe even scared.
ジジイも昔宴に出ておった。ボケてもそん時のことは覚えとるんだろう。
So, Yasumizu, if there have been... If there's been 2 feasts within one person's lifetime, Yasumizu must have been much more populated than it was, right? Or it must have been much more populated than it is now.
狼はくくる。
ちょっといいですか？
Everyone looked at me with sharp eyes.
そのかつての読み意味の宴ではどうやって一人くくる人を選んだのですか？
一人一票で選んだ。
I'd guessed as much. Apparently, the popular vote was tradition at this point.
今回もそうすべきだと思いますか？皆さんはどう思われます？
My question caused some whispers among the people.
そんなもんで決めていいのかよ。
多数決で選ばれたら文句言わずに死ななきゃならないなんてひどいよ。でも他に一人を選ぶ方法はない。
しっかり話し合って決めればいい。それで決まらねえならくくるべきじゃねえだろ。
しかし全員一致などあるのかね。当の本人は同意することなどなかろう。
はーい。じゃあここでみんなのために死んでもいいよって人挙手。
Chiemi had used this to gain everyone's trust. Rokako-san had used this to convey to me that Meiko had a guardian. Basically, it was just pure strategy. If they didn't need to take the risk this time, they simply wouldn't do it. That meant that it was very likely that Meiko didn't have a guardian this time. What was I to do here? I thought for a moment and concluded that if I raised my hand here, everyone would gladly hang me. No matter how kind-natured and reasonable they tried to appear, they actually didn't care much about me. Chiemi and Rokako would value me more than most, but there was no arguing that they favored their own. I could totally imagine them prioritizing everyone else and tearfully voting for me. Otherwise, if my fate had already been decided at that point, they would vote for someone else to send a message, or keep them on their toes. It was definitely a dangerous situation for me. There was one way that might have been able to save me, though. I could do what I'd done last time. By sounding like I could be an asset to them, I'd buy time for myself. And finally, reveal that I had a guardian. I'd have to make sure that the real one with said guardian was gone at that point, though. That meant using the time I had to find and kill them. Could I really do that, though?
誰もいないよ、匠に。
威勢のいいこと言っといて、てめえはどうなんだよ、匠に。
俺はまだ死ねない。
あ、待て。一応注意。カゴを持っている人は注意した方がいい。
どういうこと？兄ちゃん。
He went on to give the starting warning that those with guardians should keep their status hidden. However, it was better to go against that warning when the snake or crow found a wolf or when a fake appeared. And the monkeys were an exception to that. The explanation for the monkeys was the same as last time. The thing about the snake or the crow finding a wolf, as well as the appearance of a fake, weren't mentioned back then.
カゴ車は狙われやすいから黙ってた方がいい。でも、喋ると圧倒的に有利な場合や黙ると不利な場合は別。その基準としては、やはり偽物が現れた時と狼を見つけた時というのが分かりやすいと思う。
偽物なんて出てくるのか？
きっと出てくる。
Yasunaga-kun went and briefly explained that the wolves had to actively lie to win. He also added that humans should avoid lying as much as possible.
宴のことで嘘をつくのは狼だけ。そうした方が後々困らない。と思うんだけど、肝臓さん、どうですか？
今の説明で分かったもんはおるか？
This was the time. Kanzo-san and Yasunaga-kun spent a lot of the beginning last time fighting over the lead despite both being monkeys. With Haru-chan and Tai-san's death, the one in charge ended up being Takumi-san. If a calm and collected Takumi-san ended up assisting Yasunaga-kun like last time, the wolves would be at a huge disadvantage. Now, if Kanzo-san ended up in charge and controlled the feast with an iron fist, the order would collapse, perhaps to our advantage. However, that increased my chances of getting killed. I had to find a balance.
はい。
I nonchalantly yet unhesitantly raised an arm. A few others followed my lead. Chiemi, Rokako-san, Kaori-san, Yoshitsugu-kun, Kinosuke-shi, Takumi-san, Mamiya-san, Hashimoto-san, and Mochi.
わしもそれで。
He backed down. Huh. Yasunaga-kun and everyone who raised their hands amounted to 12, a clear majority. His polite, calm explanation bore fruit. But was Kanzo-san the type to back down in a situation like this?
じゃが、ククルモンは一人一票で決める。
Ah, so he had conditions for his agreement.
別にいいじゃねえか。どうせずっとダラダラ話してても決まらねえ。 逆に話し合いで筋が立ってんなら多数決にしたってその結果が出るだけだろうがよ。
まあそれも一理あるんだ。匠にどうする？
わかった。
冗談きっつい。
The bartering with Yasunaga-kun had made Takumi-san agree to something he'd been completely disapproving of. Chimmy had realized that she had to accept it, so she'd given up on arguing and only complained. Kanzo-san had a tendency to strong-arm people to get what he wanted, but he was good at it.
で、だいぶ話がそれてたけどよ。不妻子をくくろうってのか？
Wow, just casually throw it out there, huh? Things were looking bad for me. Suddenly, I got help from where I least expected it. Let me guess. Hashimoto.
今日はそのくくるでしたっけ？しなくてもいいんじゃないですか？
今日はというか、そもそもすべきじゃないと思いますけど。
もし殺さなきゃ殺されると明らかになったら僕は殺すよ。
His tone was calm, but his words were terrifying.
妻と娘が3人家で待ってるからね。
Mamiya-san's eyes widened. She must have realized just how serious he was.
前におっしゃってましたもんね。仕事で死ぬつもりはないって。
だから皆さんの話をじっくり聞かせてもらったんですけどね。多分先手を打って処刑を行うと狼側に殺戮の理由を与えることになるんじゃないですかね。
That was a general observation that no one argued against. Probably because they didn't have a good comeback.
だいたいルールは飲み込めました。考えを言いたいですが、よろしいかな？どうも。間違えてたら、君、詳しそうだから指摘してくれるかな？
はい。
じゃあこの手続きでは高確率で5人以上の死人が出ますね。最短でも狼3人と夜の死人が2人。
そうですね。雲の加護によって守られない限りは。
つまり今誰かを処刑しようがしまいが夜に誰か死にますね。
そりゃそうだな。
しかし今日くくらねば狼は減ることなく宴は長引くのだがね。
それはおかしいですね。今日の処刑は明日カラスのカゴ者に名乗り出てもらうための処刑なんでしょう。狼は絶対出てこないと思われる。そりゃあ果たして有効なんですか？効果はゼロとは言わないが。考えてみてください。明日こう言われる。私がカラスのカゴ者です。昨日処刑された不妻子さんは人でした。よしんば、不妻子さんは狼でしたと来て、他に誰も名乗り出ないから信じてどうなる？まだ14人残っていて、狼も2人残っている。狼に的中する確率は19% 弱から 14% 強に減ってる。
Yeah, okay, so it looks like my guess from last time may be coming to fruition here. Hashimoto's he's big-brained. He's not just big, he is big-brained as well. Yeah.
思うに早かろうが遅かろうが勝負がつくのは人数がある程度減ってからなのは間違いない。だから今日一人何の確証もなく処刑するというのはどうかなぁと。
それはそうかもしれませんが。
それは詭弁だ。そうやってくくることがなければ人は絶対に勝てんのだぞ。
その通り。ただ今日この時だけは待ってもいいんじゃないですかと言ってます。今日とりあえずで誰かを処刑すれば狼側には本当に殺されるんだと殺戮を正当化させてしまいますよね。逆に向こうが先に攻撃してくれば人はその仇討ちを理由に団結できる。繰り返しますが今日の夜確実に誰か一人が死ぬんです。処刑の有無に関係なく狼が本気ならね。しかし今夜の被害者を狼の報復と捉えるか狼の卑劣な先制攻撃と捉えるかには処刑の有無が影響する。要は狼が本当に殺してからでないと僕らは強い心でもって誰かを処刑などできないってことです。まあこうやって牽制することで狼も躊躇して殺人をやめることを僕は期待してますが難しいのかな。
それは
無理よ。狼は来るぞ。
なるほど。ただそうだとしても被害がないのに攻撃をするというのはなかなかストレスフルな決断ですからね。この状況でほぼ間違いなく狼ではない誰かに犠牲になってもらって僕らの中に不和を残すよりは今晩の一人に団結のための犠牲になってもらう方がまだマシだと思いますね。
He had a point. As a general rule, it was disadvantageous for humans to waste an opportunity to lynch. However, making a preemptive attack when you had limited information and the chance of getting a wolf was low was extremely risky. Thus, it was a good option to prioritize emotional superiority and unity. Not many people could argue against this. Hashimoto-san was just too good of a speaker, the opposite of Kinosuke-shi. His suggestion was beneficial for the wolves too, but only for now. It would be far more difficult for us to kill someone tonight.
今聞いて僕も橋本さんのおっしゃることに一理あると思いました。実際まだお互いのことをよく知りもしない方が混じっている状況で誰か一人をすぐ殺してしまうのはもったいない。
それは私も思いました。おそらくですがこの読み意味の宴で最後にものを言うのは情報ですよね。
どういうことかな、Q ちゃん。
誰が誰の味方をしたか、誰がいつおかしなことを言ったか、そういうのの積み重ねが狼を特定する。人が嘘をつけないルールにしたことで嘘を重ねていく狼はいつかボロを出す。そうやって狼を見つけてから対処するのがきっと正しいですし、きっと一人の手がかりから全ての狼を明らかにするとかそういうことも考えられるんじゃないかと。
なるほど、推理ってわけだ。 そこまでうまくいくかはわかりませんが、狼を泳がせておいて情報を集め、後で特定することができれば、それ以降無駄な処刑を行わずに済むから遅れを取り戻せるかもしれませんね。それに今夜何もわからないわけじゃない。ヘビは確実に誰か一人の正体を知ることになるから。
そうですね。誤ってヘビを処刑しないためにも今日は見送るのがいいのかも。
He presented the likely disadvantages that could emerge and provided us ways to turn them around. It was really effective. Most here didn't want to kill anyone yet, but had to balance out the pros and cons of doing so. If they were told that the negatives could be made up for, they had no reason to cling to that. No reason not to cling to that. Crap. I fell silent. Silent people were considered to be passive accomplices to the wolves. I had to say something.
確かに有効に思えます。ちょっと露骨な話ですが、もう一つ利点がある。
何かな、不妻子くん。
狼側は当然優先的にカゴ者を殺したいわけですよね。しかし今日処刑を行えば狼側がカゴ者を選ぶ選択肢を狭めることにもなります。特に本格的に容疑者に選ばれた人がカゴ者だったりすれば、その人は自分の正体を明かさざるを得なくなる。人は嘘をつかないし、狼は互いの正体を知ってるので、狼は確実にそれがカゴ者だとわかる。しかし現時点でカゴ者が名乗り出るメリットはゼロです。まだ誰も何もカゴによって情報を得ていないから。
ただ狼に殺されるだけ。
そう。
ふむ、確かだね。
Let me look at that again. If the potential victim of the lynching ended up being one with a guardian, they would have no choice but to reveal it. So, like, say Haruaki, let's say he's the snake again, and they're about to lynch me. Is Haruaki saying, "Hey, I'm a snake. You can't lynch me"? So the wolves would instantly know, and the wolves wouldn't be able to. No, excuse me. The wolves would know. The humans wouldn't be able to know. So the wolves would have one less person to target. Is that right? Something like that?
もちろんカゴ者を引く可能性は低いですが、ただの人をくくってしまえばその分狼が殺す候補も減る。狼でない人は今13人、1人いなくなれば12人。ここから狼はカゴ者を選ぶ。
母数が減ればそれだけカゴ者が当たる率が高い。
やっぱり初日にくくることは弊害が大きそうに思いますね。
I actually thought that this way of handling the wolves was good for the humans. You mean handling the wolves? I think they mean handling the wolves. From what I could tell, Kaori-san and Haru-chan would be found out sooner than later. I had my looping and was generally a scumbag, so I wasn't as shaken by the situation as they were, but my situation wasn't exactly solid. I could fall into traps set by humans too.
どう思う？匠に。
狼が絶対に殺すって前提で話が進んでるのが気に食わねえが、殺されないならこっちも殺さないってのはわかるな。おやっさんは？
狼は確かに殺す。
そうかもしれねえがよ。
が、でけえのの言うこともわかる。
What?
今日くくるかくくらんかで票取れ。それで決まりゃそれでええ。 植松の記録せえ。
はい。
あ、忘れてた。
あ？
君、猿は名乗り出ない理由がないって言ってたよね。
ええ。猿は相互証明できるから語られにくいし、それ以上の能力はないから狼にも狙われにくいから。
なるほど。というわけで僕は猿です。ちなみにもう一人の方はちょっと読みが分かりづらいのと漢字が潰れてて分かりづらかったけど、なんとかださん。
鴨志田近持は僕だ。僕は猿だ。僕は猿だ。
Well, the fact that these two are monkeys, I feel like that makes our job quite more difficult.
僕は
何回言うのよ。
そっか、モッチーは猿だったんだ。
Pure relief. Yasunagi-kun was glad that his best friend was definitely not a wolf. Such behavior was a good way to guess whether someone was a wolf or not. Reactions were important.
橋本さんが親切ぶった狼じゃないってことが確かになったわけだが、改めて票取っていいか。処刑を行うか行わないか。
違う。今日くくるか死人が出るのを待ってくくるかよ。死人が出たらどうあっても一日一人くくる。そう約束せえ。
ああ。
まあしょうがないんじゃない。一方的に殺され続けるなんて納得できないでしょ。
耐えばもええか。
そうね。
構わんのではないかね。
僕もいいです。
With no more counter arguments, we began the vote. The results came quick. The only ones who voted to hang someone today were the old wolf guy and Kanzoshi. Everyone else chose to wait until the wolves made a move, so we didn't hang anyone today. Okay. We're gonna call it there. And I'm definitely not going to come up with a game plan right now. Lots to consider. Yeah, okay, next time we will go over that, or I will go over that in detail and hopefully try to work out some kind of game plan going forward, because I thought it would be difficult, but now I think it's even more difficult considering what has happened. So I've been The Worm. This has been Raging Loop. See you next time.